Satoshi Nakamoto launched Bitcoin, the world's first cryptocurrency. Leveraging distributed ledger technology, Bitcoin showed the world what a decentralized currency could look like. Crypto is entering the mainstream, and many political leaders and governments don't like it. The move toward decentralization has led to governments worldwide looking at how they might move into the digital currency space without sacrificing their control over monetary policy. This desire is an important driver behind the push for CBDCs. Whitney Webb warns that central bank digital currencies will be used to monitor all financial transactions and control how people can spend their money. Let's dive into that video.
The US is going to get the same surveillable, programmable digital currency garbage that is being pushed in other countries, but is going to be, in those cases, is directly issued by the central bank. The US is going to get that same thing, but it's not going to be issued directly by the Fed. It's going to be issued by the commercial banks, the big banks, the too big to fail banks, who are going to basically issue a bunch of stable coins and back those reserves up at the Fed. That's called a synthetic CBDC. The US is going to get a synthetic CBDC, and people are going to cheer and say, US stands for freedom. We don't have a CBDC. But you do, because it's still surveillable and it's still programmable. Instead of Jerome Powell programming your digital dollar, it's Jamie Dimon. Is that a victory? I don't think so. I certainly think that the big commercial banks and potentially, the financial arm of the US government think they can use Bitcoin for something that benefits them. Gary Gensler of the SEC refers to Bitcoin as a commodity, but every other cryptocurrency is a security, from the SEC's perspective. That's pretty significant. So seeing Bitcoin as like this commodity from the SEC's perspective, the only commodity in the digital currency space, they obviously want to use that to their benefit if they can. And it seems like they probably can and will. Yeah. So the conflict here, as I see it, is why was Bitcoin originally made? From what I have what's been portrayed, right? It was created as a tool of financial freedom to prevent fiscal irresponsibility on the part of central banks and also commercial banks as a response to things like the 2008 financial crisis. Okay. So what happens when the same powers that Bitcoin was created to thwart start using it to continue their bad behavior? Is it still a tool for financial freedom then, or has it become a tool of the same people it was created to fight against? This is a real discussion that needs to happen in the Bitcoin space. It is happening to a degree, arguably not enough. I think a lot of people can get kind of googly-eyed thinking like, oh, wow, what if Bitcoin goes above $200,000? Like, and all of this stuff. Like, okay, well, it's great that you might have, a higher net worth, but in a lot of the cases where like Bitcoin would be projected to reach astronomical sums, that means like the dollar and like other currencies widely in use become like insanely devalued. So like, okay, if a loaf of bread is worth like $300 because like helicopter money in the US has happened and it's like hyperinflation, and you have Bitcoin, like you might have like a lot of, it looks like you have a lot of money in your account, but in terms of purchasing power, like you basically have the same lifestyle you have now, but everyone else around you is dirt poor and has nothing. Like, is that a scenario to be like cheered on? I don't think so. I also think there's a side effort too, and I think it's very obvious, or should be very obvious to people in the space, to criminalize privacy enhancing tools for Bitcoin transactions. They want Bitcoin transactions, those that they allow to happen, to be completely surveillable. They don't want financial privacy, which is part of this push for bank issued stable coins and deposit tokens and CBDCs, is all about knowing everything about the flow of money, how the public spends their money. They don't want you to spend $1 and them not know about it, So, I mean, that's essentially where it's headed. And to use Bitcoin, they want it to go in that direction as well. So people kind of have in my opinion, have to pick a side here about like, are you going to fight to keep Bitcoin a tool for financial freedom for everybody? and to keep it being like ideal money to as a hedge against central bank and commercial bank malfeasance? Or are you going to let those same central and commercial banks use it for their ends and incorporate it into their system of complete financial control? If you have a lot of Bitcoin, but like you can't use it or exchange it for legal tender, you'd only be able to like use it with other people that have Bitcoin, right? And so like there's a potential for that to emerge at some point, probably in certain scenarios. But as it is right now, I mean, there's an unprecedented effort by like the DOJ specifically to get like major crypto exchanges under its thumb by making them, the Binance thing is a good example, right? An insane amount of staff from the Department of Justice are surveilling every transaction that goes through Binance right now. And FinCEN has custodianship of the exchange for the next 5 years. They have all access to all of Binance's data, not just from the settlement forward, but all of their past data. So they can retroactively go and flag transactions, and the DOJ can be like, we're going to seize that wallet for X amount of Bitcoin and add it to, the DOJ's massive Bitcoin holdings, which are among the biggest in the world. Right. So you control all of these on and off ramps and surveil all of that. Like that is a major problem. Yeah. And I think people have to be really aware of this like big push to end online anonymity and financial anonymity, or like just privacy. Some people are naive about how far these people will go, but you should not be. Like these are people that do not want to cede their power to anybody, and they're very accustomed to stealing from us. And they don't plan to stop stealing. So I mean, people need to be really aware of that, and and fight to keep Bitcoin to be something that is empowering and a tool for freedom and financial freedom. Because if enough people get too googly-eyed about the value going up and pumper bags and all of this stuff, I mean, there's a lot of damage could be done. When you have groups like BlackRock and all this stuff trying to get in on it, that should be a red flag that like they think they can co-opt it.
We gotta be aware of what's happening. Don't get blinded by the hype. Bitcoin can be a tool for good, but only if we keep it that way. Fight for your financial privacy. It's one of your most valuable assets. As always, this is just my take. Let me know in the comments what you think about the future of digital currencies. Happy investing. Until next time.